all spent almost 10 hours deliberating on the importance of education in advancing the rights of women and girls and in empowering women and girls. And in fact, we at the Women's Forum, our conviction is that education is key in raising the voices of women, and also education is the catalyst to drive the change that is necessary within our communities. But now the most interesting fact is that now we are going to test the waters on all the deliberations that we have been having for almost 10 hours. We are going to have the battle of ideas. We're going to have a debate, which is quite crucial. It's crucial to have people who disagree with us. You must know the minute everyone agrees with you, something is actually wrong. So we are going to put our conviction into test this evening as we are going to be joined in the big debate, the New York Times debate, and we are going to ask a simple question. Will AI kill education? The very same conviction that we have that education is the key to raise the women's voices. Now is the time to put that into test. And the question is quite simple. Will AI kill education? And to help us have this conversation, we are joined by both Stephanie and Sophie, who will be our moderators for this big debate. Let's welcome them on stage. Let's give them a round of applause as they join us to lead such a wonderful debate.
Thank you. Please join. Please. Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you for staying here, for those of you who are online and with us here today in person. So welcome to what is definitely today the final session of this first day of the Women's Forum Global Meeting, and welcome to the much anticipated New York Times debate. I'm Sophie Lambin, CEO of Kite Insights and of the Kite Climate School, curator of this debate and editorial partner of the Women's Forum. I will be co-moderating this session with my partner in crime, Stephen Dunbar-Johnson, who is the President International of the New York Times.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm not Stephanie, I am Stephen, I assure you. I second Sophie's welcome. I'm really particularly pleased to be here because it was at the Women's Forum in 2018 that the New York Times convened its very first debate, Oxford-style debate. So I'm very excited, and we've taken this forum around the world since then. So it's terrific to be back here. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm under Sophie's shadow, but we're delighted to have you all here for what promises to be what I think is going to be a spirited, competitive, and urgent debate on whether AI will indeed kill education. Has artificial intelligence set us on an irreversible path towards a world where people are no longer the gatekeepers of knowledge, where most human expertise, as we know it, is lost, and our relationship to critical thinking has been compromised?
Oh, Stephen, if I may interject, are we living a moment of revolution where we can finally, in good faith, start talking about democratized learning, where AI-owned learning processes are making room for other forms of learning and skill that can and will improve our societies?
Well, that is exactly what we're here to try and find out this evening, Sophie. So, no doubt, we've all come to this motion with our own set of biases. Some of us may have strong views about whether AI will kill education. Is it going to be a threat that an advantage and others will have the opposite view? But we urge you, and this is really important, we urge you to leave those biases at the door. We urge you to listen to the arguments on both sides of the motion and judge the debate on the merits of the arguments being put forward. So please suspend whatever biases you have and just listen and pay attention to what folk are saying. But before we do that, I want to test your energy levels, because I know people have been, it's been a long day. A lot of you have been sitting down all day. So I want you to now, I'm going to ask you a question. And for those of you, and this has got nothing to do with this motion tonight, but for those of you that think gender parity is a force for good, please clap now. Okay. That's okay, that's good. You've got to lean into this, guys. And you need to encourage our debaters. So again, I just want to do a little bit of a sense check. For those of you that do think AI will kill education, can you clap now? Oh, interesting. Those that don't think AI will kill education, clap now. Okay. That was important. Please listen to what I said before. Suspend your own biases. Listen to both sides of the debate. Okay, Sophie?
Yes, well, the scene is set. But before we welcome our debaters to the podium, I would like to welcome Mickey McManus to the virtual stage. Mickey is an author, senior advisor at BCG, and thought leader in computing and human-centered design and education.
Okay, well, I'm going to then set the rules. Now, this is important. Everyone listen up. These are the house rules for how this is going to go this evening. We now have, well, we did have 10. We now have 9 speakers for this session, comprising 6 debaters and 3 jury members. The first debaters from each side of the motion will come up and stand here at these respective podiums. The team member from the for team will speak first, followed by the against team. So for team first, then against team. Then the second speakers will come up, and then the third speakers. By the way, please encourage them. If you hear something you like, don't hold back, applaud. Each speaker, this is really important, has up to 3 minutes. Sophie and I will be extremely vigilant with the time. Anybody who is unfortunate enough
or foolish enough.
Thank you, Sophie. Anyone who is unfortunate or foolish enough to stray beyond 3 minutes will be immediately cut off. Probably by Sophie. She's quite difficult like that. No matter how compelling,
if I may say.
No matter how compelling they are, they will be cut off. The clock is here in the front, and once everyone has presented their arguments, our esteemed jury, sitting here, over here on the front row, will come on stage and speak directly to the debaters.
Crucially, jury members, you will go against your own nature and actually refrain from judging the teams. Instead, you are encouraged to impart sage words and possibly challenge them on their blind spots. The key point here it is that it is up to you, member of the audience, to be the ultimate judges.
And you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes to give your summation. But then before, we'll have a very short break, and we'll play a little video. And that short break is intended to allow the teams, having listened to the jury, to confer. And each team will then designate one team member to return to the podium to present the final arguments for no more than 1.5 minutes. Again, we will be watching the clock. Then the audience, that's you, you will vote. Your mission is to declare which team has been the most compelling, which side made the better case. And I think Sophie will take note of your initial biases, by the way, when you clapped earlier. Okay, Sophie, have I missed anything?
No, I think just don't forget to cheer up. It takes some courage for those debaters to come and argue. Sometimes, they're going beyond their own belief for the sake of the argument. So I think encourage the debaters throughout. I think that's very important.
Hello? Absolutely. Please do that. And if you don't do it, I'm going to come in and
can you hear me?
Encourage you to do so. Oh,
Hi, Mickey. We can hear you. Do you want to set the debate up for us?
I will. So, will AI kill education? What do we mean by education? When we say education, We might picture an approach pioneered more than a century ago when we needed ever more workers to support the industrial and then later the information revolution. It was designed akin to a factory pumping out one-size-fits-all workers. After all, it was really hard to scale and tune each class for a given learner's experience and background. We made students ready for a single career in their life, where they learned a stock of knowledge and a way of being to then apply that knowledge to perform some role in a career until they retired. And yet the next few years will see a massive challenge. We've heard about it already today in the form of all sorts of existential challenges and resource allocation. It's not that there won't be jobs, but that the right person with the right skill set, mindset, ethos, or tool set won't be in the right place at the right time. Ultimately, education may turn out to be about fostering a growth mindset where learners realize that they aren't fixed in their capacity, but they can grow their potential throughout their entire life. While they may not know how to do something yet, the struggle, or as neuroscientists call it, desirable difficulty, is when we grow neurons and connections between those brain cells the fastest. So the question might be, how might we as a society level the field and build the capacity to flourish? How do we help the next generation learn? How to learn? How might we accelerate not only learning, but unlearning as job categories collapse under the pressure of automation? Automation. That's my code word for robotics and artificial intelligence. So let's explore what we mean when we say AI. Machine learning has always helped us automate predictions, pattern recognitions, and processes. But in late 2017, a paper came out that was called Attention is All You Need. It suggested transformer architectures, that's the T in GPT, that was generative, that's the G, and could be pre-trained, that's the P, as a foundational model by feeding it all the data humanity has created. All the science papers, all the novels, and yes, sadly, all the biases built into our existing systems of oppression as well. But to understand the potential of AI, think of it like a subway map for the world of knowledge. And once you've found a stopping point by writing a prompt, maybe you say, translate this sentence from French into Hindi, and you could resolve or diffuse out of that latent subway map a sentence that worked. Since computer code is a form of language, suddenly people who had never written computer code could speak in French or English or Spanish, and the system could output working computer code. Or input the code of life in the forms of G's, A's, T's, and C's, and translate that into the shape of a protein that could fix an illness or cure a disease. Last December, ChatGPT was suddenly a wake-up call because we started to see generative AI systems show up as kind of an iPhone moment. And we noticed that it could deliver 5, what I think of as C's. It could create entirely new things, like a web search for paintings that don't even exist. It could converse in new ways that seem like you're interacting with another human. It could comprehend complex ideas and translate them into synthesized insights for a 10-year-old, or explore the implications of a business idea like a BCG consultant. It could command the system. You could say, don't only write the code from a sentence or a picture or whiteboard sketch, but run it, debug the code, go out and solve issues, chain those issues together in a series of actions and accomplish that goal. And it could coach by asking the system to develop questions to quiz you about a topic that fits your own life experiences and context. Sal Khan and the Khan Academy has built a custom GPT coach to help math learners get one-on-one Socratic coaching so that millions of students can have the benefits of a personal learning coach, the gold standard in education, usually reserved for children of the elite, and an unattainable goal when we've tried to scale education in the past. So while educators worry that students with access to AI will cheat on their essays and tests, other educators are experimenting, like Khan Academy, in ways that entirely change the way we teach and learn at scale. Now, the last part was, will AI kill education? So do we mean it won't even be possible to educate the next generation when there's no fruitful path for them to apprentice and learn the hard-won skills that come from sweating the details? Particularly if AI makes it so easy to get an answer, we don't create productive struggle, so important for learning. Do we mean destroy classic schools and universities or usher in a new model? Or do we mean kill the idea that we should even strive to educate our kids because superhuman AI can solve all these problems? Should we all just hope we and our kids are treated as nice pets by our AI overlords and just give up? I think those are the stakes today in our debate.
Thank you. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Mike. Thank you very much, Mickey, for setting the scene and the realm of possibilities. Back to our instruction, Stephen.
Yes, so just bear in mind again that our debaters have been invited to bring some theatrics to the stage, so don't be alarmed if they are theatrical. We want them to be. Suspend your bias again. I keep repeating that. Keep an open mind.
Thank you.
And indulge and encourage the debaters as much as you can. And I think now we're going to go, this is going to be intense, it's going to be exciting, I'm excited. Are you excited? Yes, good. So now let's welcome our champions.
Yes, I think it's time to welcome the champions. So please, on the far side, please welcome our champions. Wait, all of you.
And for the against side.
Let's begin, shall we?
Let's begin, yes.
Yes.
So,
all right. So, first speaker on the far side, please join me in welcoming Sarah Sabina Montaldo.
and the first speaker on the against side, Katrin Alush-Sananon.
So you can see the title here, but let us tell you a fun fact about each of them. Sarah, also she's Italian. Although she's Italian, she's always having sandrine for breakfast.
Very good. Very good, very good for the brain.
Very good for the health, yes.
Katrin, fun fact, her kids go to the same school as George Clooney's kids.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So we should have 3 minutes on the clock. Thank you. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having us. Today, my team and I will play the devil's advocate, and we will argue for the potential harm of AI for our education system. Imagine a scenario where students grow up completely immersed in AI-generated content. This can result in a generation unfamiliar with AI risks and limitations and cannot distinguish what is factually correct, what exists in reality, and what is happening what is made up by AI. This is mostly because, first, we do not educate students on what AI is and how it really works. Second, the absence of national regulation on AI in most countries leaves educational institutions largely unprepared for its ethical use and risks. In this context, it is important to underline that AI poses two main risks: hallucination and biases. Regarding hallucination, it is important to stress that AI occasionally returns false information, blurring the line between fact and fiction. And this hallucination may not be so easy to identify for a child who's still cognitively growing. Indeed, another important aspect is also to remember that there are biases in AI tools. AI perpetrates biases that are present in the training data, and this is due to the lack of effective monitoring mechanisms. Indeed, AI tools reflect the human values and the biases of their programmers, and if AI is developed without an intentional ethical focus, it could increase discrimination. This is especially important because the material generated by AI can appear to be quite accurate and convincing, even if it contains error and biases, posing a risk for young learners with limited prior knowledge. These tools are not designed to provide unequivocal correct answers. They generate output based on probability, and they're only as good as the data they're fed with. Additionally, teachers and learners should also be aware that biased results are due to the fact that minority voices can be left out because they are, by definition, less common in the training data. To conclude, if we are not careful, AI might threaten the very essence of our educational system and the entire society. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Well done. Stay here while the opposing team is having a go. So the clock is ready.
Katrin.
Good evening, women and women. So generative AI rapid adoptions has created an urgent need for upskilling and reskilling globally. WEF Future of Jobs reports published that by 2027, 61% of workers will require retraining, and only 50% of them will have access to that training because of the teacher gap. So today we stand at the crossroad of education and technology. And the question before us is, will AI kill education? Our stance is a definite no. As AI, when harnessed ethically and effectively is poised to revolutionize and enhance the educational landscape. So firstly, consider the potential of personalized and adaptive learning. AI-driven teaching assistants that can provide students 24/7 support. Mikey was talking about that right before. Imagine the empowerment students and teachers are gaining to have assistants tailored to the student needs, stimulating critical thinking and efficiently addressing challenges. This is not about maximal assistance. This is about mimicking the nuanced support from teachers. Furthermore, the integration of AI in the education allows now for evaluation of soft skills. Through instant transcription and assessment, AI can provide constructive feedback on speech practices, peer reviews, refining communication skills. At Coursera, we have a coach, a generative AI-powered virtual coach that exemplifies this by answering questions in various languages, making complex concepts accessible to 10 years old. Secondly, let's discuss the democratization of learning. Online platforms coupled with AI become equalizers, ensuring that education is not just a privilege, but a right accessible to anyone, anywhere. Machine learning translations are breaking language barriers, making education more inclusive and affordable, and demonstrated by translations of Coursera's 4,000 courses in 17 languages in a fraction of the cost, but in few weeks. However, this transformative power to benefit all, we must widespread access at a minimal cost. The argument that AI lead to the demise of education misses a crucial point. AI is the future. Students need exposure to those tools to stay relevant in the evolving job market. So students should be educated on ethical AI and use properly attributed work to generate these tools.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deal.
This is just the start. This is just the start. Round 1 finished. Well done. Round 2. We're going to have, please join me in welcoming
Remember to encourage, guys. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. So on the fourth side, we have Hans Gelazi, and I have to say, we lost a debater to COVID yesterday, and Hans came on the spot today to do this debate. So please, an extra. So Hans has a fun fact. She has a massive sweet tooth. When she goes out to a restaurant, she looks at the dessert section first. Maybe the opposing team has given her chocolate, actually. And yes, in fact, her team knows how to bribe her with chocolate.
And for the against team, we have Leila Toplic. And the fun fact here is Leila, her first job, I understand, was teaching in a refugee camp. Is that true? Teaching refugee camp? Working with children and youth displaced by the conflict in former Yugoslavia. Bravo to you. Okay, so.
Hans, you ready?
Yes.
Clock can start.
Thank you. So good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to participate in this highly topical debate. The central point I would like to make today is this. The misuse of governance around AI is already killing education. The risks are running away with themselves, and we are mainly in a position now of trying to catch up. The damages we are witnessing today currently includes algorithms, bias, and misinformation. Generative AI models trained on biased and inaccurate data are producing educational content that perpetuates stereotypes and misinformation. This is already triggering a rise in the unfair treatment of certain groups and identities. Equity problems between the students who have the technology and those who don't, or a less or non-paying version. This leads to inequity between students by favoring the most advantaged, those who have the latest and most expensive version. An over-reliance on technology, dependence on generative AI for content creation or assessment is already leading to a reduced emphasis on critical thinking, creativity, and problem-solving skills among students. Social isolation. The overuse of AI in education is already weakening the mandatory relationship between students and teachers by reducing face-to-face communication and hindering the development of social skills. Lack of human interactions. We know that AI lacks empathy and emotional intelligence. So as educators rely increasingly on AI, students risk losing touch with the aspects of learning that define our common humanity. Finally, unemployment concerns. As AI begins to automate tasks like grading, content generation, and tutoring, the role of educators looks increasingly precarious. Many are already wondering whether their redundancy is inevitable. That said, with the right ethical guidelines, critical oversight, and preservation of the vital role of human educators, our current conception of education might still have a chance. But the worrying truth is that in most cases, the guidelines have not yet been invented or even implemented. Innovation was consistently prioritized over safety. And now we are trying to catch a runaway train. I'm convinced that a series of very radical actions would have to happen internationally to save our education.
Well done, well done, Hans. Stay there. I dare not think how it would have been if you had 1 week to prepare that rather than 1 day. So super well done.
Leila, the clock has been reset. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. AI will kill education as we know it, and that's a good thing. Now, you might think that I'm on the wrong side of the debate, but I'm not. So let me tell you why. Let's face it. The traditional sit, listen, memorize, one-size-fits-all model has not served us for decades. It prepares us for the future that no longer exists by the time we're done with being educated. AI can help us finally move away from this outdated, rigid model to one that is focused on learning itself and in sync with the dynamic world that we live in. The real debate is not about whether AI will kill education. It is whether we will seize this opportunity to create a learning system that truly reflects our best selves, our humanity, and supports our needs and aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, AI is not the enemy. It is the catalyst we've been waiting for. And let me be clear, the AI that I'm talking about here is not just a homework helper or administrative aid for the teachers or a crutch reducing learning to copy-paste shortcuts or aiding plagiarism. No, AI's true potential lies in preparing learners, all of us, for a world that demands adaptive, collaborative, creative problem solving, the skills that are essential for tackling the challenges we've been talking about all day today: climate crisis, conflict, poverty, inequality, essentially enabling learners to move beyond this passive consumption and memorization of information to active engagement, exploration, and creativity. Now, the 4 team has argued that AI will perpetrate biases, diminish critical thinking, lead to over-reliance on technology. Well, I want to remind us that AI is a tool shaped by our choices. Technology is not something that merely happens to us. We have agency. So our precious energy here should not be wasted on fear and paranoia. It should be put to good use. And that is reimagining learning with AI as a tool for human potential. Potential to find cures to diseases faster, grow enough food to prevent hunger, and decarbonize our cities and protect our forests, and connect every person to high-quality, lifelong learning. And you know, coming back to some of my work, I know firsthand that this is possible. 5 years ago, I worked on an AI-powered learning companion for refugee youth in the Middle East and saw then that when AI tools are designed thoughtfully, they have the ability to empower, to remove the barriers to access.
Time.
I'm sorry. That was a terrific job.
Well done.
Thank
well
you so
done.
much. Well done.
The debate is heating up for sure. Now we're ready for round 3. So please join me in welcoming to the stage.
Last round. So
The last one, yes. Please welcome me in joining to the stage Dr. Katrin Goulden-Lemaire for the 4 sides.
and Stephanie Creff.
So,
Fun
fact, before we go. This is an interesting one. Katrin is crazy about sausage dogs. Best breed in the world and the most stubborn one also. Interesting. Training them properly and excelling at it provides you with excellent skills for the boardroom and executive suites. I'm not sure I want to be in that boardroom, Katrin. Stephen.
And actually, this is equally interesting. Fun fact. Stephanie has completed training of equine facilitated therapy, which is interesting, in order to learn how horses can help treat people with certain mental issues. I need this desperately. Issues like addiction, autism, an example of education which AI won't be able to kill, I think, anytime soon. So, off
Ready to go, Katrin? The clock is on.
Thank you. Let me be the last one of the advocates to argue AI's destructive potential on our current educational system. And let me focus on the inherent social and cultural elements that make education an effective tool for strong, cohesive societies and democracies. AI will kill education because our educational system is already ill, at least in Western mature democracies. And regardless of the Anglo-Saxon system, where education is a private purchasable commodity, or the continental European system, where it remains a public common good. Because we have reduced our educational system over the course of the last century to factory-like settings. Our focus is no longer on the Humboldtian ideal of education as general holistic study to become mature citizens. Rather, we narrowed down education to specialization, solely focusing on the employability of individuals. The former was a relational model, the latter is purely functional. Let's now add AI in its simple and complex forms and with all its potential and actual consequences into this equation. And let's also not forget that we already live in a fragile world where our relations are severely tested through various mega phenomena and crises. We might have conquered COVID, but we are now witnessing, as the Consultant General, the highest doctor in the US, pointed out, a much more severe pandemic, namely loneliness, and with it a rise of mental illnesses. AI has the potential to increase our replaceability, our uniqueness as humans, and to render us more non-relational. AI has also the potential to kill community and human flourishing, which are results of education. Yet those prerequisites are essential for our social cohesion, peaceful societies, and for the continuation of democracy. This, by the way, requires more than regulation. It needs solid reflection and development concerning our political digital order with, in my opinion, very different European, American, and Chinese perspectives. We need to start educating or restart educating our children back into community and not into employability. Will AI help or hinder us to do so? And moreover, are we humans strong enough to apply a spirit of differentiation where we balance highly technological developments while fostering social and cultural welfare? I think we need to be careful what we wish for.
Thank you. Stay there. Oh, yes. You're building a fan base, Katrin, so that's fantastic.
Stephanie, I think the clock has reset, so the floor is yours.
Okay. Does it work? Yeah. So I want to get one thing straight to begin with. AI is a technological marvel, but to think it could replace or indeed kill education is like believing microwave ovens would replace Michelin star restaurants, as far as I'm concerned. AI does look like magic. For example, it could now guess reliably what you're all looking at in real time if it had access to a scan of your brain. However, it doesn't truly understand how your brain works. Its ability to do the analyzing is because humans have coded algorithms to interpret it. We understand how your brain works. This highlights AI's biggest limitation. It cannot think for itself. It is an invaluable tool in data and knowledge-driven fields like medicine, where crunching complex data very quickly is a highly sought, very clear benefit. However, its ability to advance other concept-driven or theoretical disciplines like physics or mathematics is quasi-null. Innovation in those fields rely on theoretical thinking, on thought experiments like Einstein's, if you've heard about that, both of which AI does neither have the agency nor the ingenuity to teach or to deliver. Let's now consider the role of education. It is very pluralistic. It's about increasing our knowledge, a task which I think my two co-debaters have demonstrated AI can indeed help transform and should transform radically. But education is also about enhancing our emotional intelligence, our social intelligence, and teaching us how to think. So we have more Einsteins in the future. While AI might one day teach us calculus, for example, better, in a more personalized way than any professor, I would argue that it won't teach us the subtleties of group dynamics, body language, for example, how to make new friends, or indeed things like respect or ethics. Because we fundamentally learn by doing, we need those experiences alone and in groups. This is a part of education which will never be imparted solely to machines. What about the need to educate diverse, smart, ethically savvy engineers? It will be necessary to ensure both the future of AI and the future of humanity, but can the other side convince us that AI will have such an agency that they'll be able to conceive of that need and to fulfill it? So in my view, AI will not replace fully education because it cannot replicate those crucial educational experiences, and it cannot foresee the needs of human societies. I also cannot see a world where AI kills education, because for something like this to happen, it seems to me that we would have given up on those needs, the needs of future human societies. And in doing so, we would have forsaken our humanity and our civilization. When that happens, we would have killed education,
encroaching
not AI.
Patriarchy. Well done. Well done.
Well done. Wonderful. Oh, a kiss, that's very nice. Very nice. Fair play going on here.
Give them a round of applause, Asa.
Yes.
Well done.
So we're now going to call on our jury to join us. And is Rahaf online? Yes? Okay, wonderful. So please join me in welcoming our jury members on the stage. Please come up. So we have, first of all, digitally, we have Rahaf Hafoush, who is a digital anthropologist. Then we have Shelley McKinley, a long-standing advocate of inclusive AI.
And we have Katrin Porter, who's my colleague at the New York Times. She's based here in Paris. She's an international correspondent at the New York Times and a fabulous journalist. It's great you're here. Sophie, you've got 2 mics, by the way.
Oh, yes. No, that's because I wanted to give the one to them. Do you want to have a mic, or you rather stand here?
Does that
you know what, Rahaf, we're going to give you the first go at it as you're joining us virtually. First of all, thank you for joining us, Rahaf. I hope you were able to listen to the debate.
Yes, very much so.
That's great. So over to you. You have 2 minutes.
So, Sophie, I believe I just have 2 minutes, not to pick a side, but just to offer some thoughts, yes?
You're absolutely right. And ideally a challenge to our debaters for the final retort.
Okay, I'll dive right in. So I took a lot of notes. I want to say thank you to both sides for bringing up excellent points, from bias and data and the impact of these tools on minority groups to the unlimited possibilities of personalization, democratization, and potentially giving access to different types of education to people who otherwise would not receive it in traditional systems. As a digital anthropologist, my job is to study the impact of technology on our culture and vice versa. So I would encourage people from both sides of the debate to think about the culture surrounding education and to really think about the systems of power as well as the value that we as a society attribute to educators, to people that are associated with educational institutions, to what it means to be learners, what it means to be affiliated with these types of brands, I'm going to say. And I would be really curious to hear their thoughts as to what they think we are most attached to. What do we need to let go of, both positive and negative, on both sides of this debate? And what do the things that we need to let go of, what will they be replaced with? Whether it's our commitment to the public good, whether it's our commitment to children and access to education, whether it's our commitment to making information freely available, I would really encourage them to go beyond the technology and really go into what it is that our societies believe our futures should look like. Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you, Rahaf. Such powerful points. I can see one team taking lots of notes, the other one very confident, keeping it all in their brain, in the internal machine. Thank you, Rahaf. Please stay with us for the final vote. So, Shelley, can I go to you next? Do you want a mic? Yeah.
So I'm looking at my notes here and have to admit that I can't even really read them because I can't write very well anymore. One of the perils of working on a computer a lot. So really great points by everyone. I just want to congratulate you for, especially, I would just say, you guys had a hard job, and you guys had a really hard job. So give it up, please, for both sides, because I think it was a great debate. I loved the focus on sort of how do we think about, bridging some of these gaps that we have with the current systems that are in place. And I think both of you touched on sort of some regulatory efforts and what would be needed. And so I thought it was a great, will AI kill education, or will it kill it if it's kept in its current form? I thought that was a really, of course, interesting point. What I would ask to this team to think a little bit about is maybe some arguments or some discussion about, why would it be harder to eliminate existing biases and inequalities in AI than it is in the current educational system that we know has been problematic for a long time in terms of the challenges that we have with the way girls are educated differently from boys, et cetera. So maybe a little bit on that topic. And then, maybe I could use like a little a chat GPT summary of what you said, Kate, because it was awesome. Really nice job. And for you, on this side, I would say, when you think about the differences between education in the developed Western, Northern Hemisphere world, and in other parts of the world where maybe there isn't as much access to technology, how would you think that we're going to bridge some of those gaps if we think that AI is not going to kill education? Is it not going to kill education in only the world that has access, and it's going to kill education in other places? Or is there some way that they're also going to be brought along in terms of bridging these long-standing gaps? When you think about how long it took to get power to the world, where many places it still is, and I know you're about to interrupt me and kick me off the stage.
Sage advice, but I have to interrupt you.
So I would
rule for one and all.
Yeah. So how is that going?
But she's ignoring me.
How are you going to think about that?
Let her finish.
I'm finishing my sentence. How would you think about that?
Thank you. Please join me in thanking Shelley. Wonderful. Well done, Shelley.
Wow, they're very strict here. Hi, everyone.
It's your colleague.
Thank you for having me. Amazing job. I'm so impressed you only had a day to prepare that. It was wasn't that impressive?
Yes.
It was really impressive. Well, I feel like I'm going to echo a lot of my colleagues' statements because what I wrote down was, well, first of all, it's kind of appalling how both sides really don't think much of education and the education system right now. It's like, wow, that's very depressing. Wasn't it a bit depressing? I mean, I'm Canadian, not American, so I still think that like the public system's not bad. In any event, so when I was looking at the against side, you guys seemed to paint three interesting different angles. You know, one was very utopian, and again, I would come back to the same question. I spent a lot of time in Haiti. Most of the time in Haiti, there's no electricity, and Haiti's representative of a lot of countries in the world where there's no electricity. How could AI possibly replace a living person if you don't have an electrical system to run a machine that they might not actually be able to afford? In places where much of the world does not have access to stable electricity, how would this be not something that would create more of a small 1% of wealth and the vast majority of people being poor? And then for the other side, I love the loneliness point that two of you leaned into. It was really, as a parent of two teenagers during COVID, it really touched me, and I feel like the audience also appreciated that point. But I would also ask you to contemplate a child's brain and how it grows at these certain stages. Teenagers are when the frontal part of your brain really grows, where you're figuring out how to use reason, and is it important to have a human contact for that? The other thing I wrote down, teachers have bias too, not just AI. In fact, I grew up in Canada, and for many, many centuries, we never learned about colonialism and what happened to Native people there. So, in our schools. So I would ask you to think about that too.
Katrin, thank you.
Right on cue. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what's going to happen now is we're going to play a little video, but whilst these two teams are going to listen to that sage, having listened to that sage advice, will confer, and you will choose who's going to come up and give the summation for each side. So that's going to start as soon as the video starts. The video, by the way, is a video about New York Times coverage of the climate crisis. We thought it was appropriate as we're just heading into COP. So we'll play that for, I think it's going to be about 2.5 minutes. You guys huddle, decide who you want, and then we'll finish the debate. Thank you.
These events are another manifestation of the Times' commitment to covering the immense challenges of climate change.
Climate-forward conversations are designed to help us all make sense of these very complicated, compounding challenges. We will hear from thinkers and doers and people on the front lines of change. We'll be looking at climate change and inequality, climate change and the food crisis.
This is the age of accountability.
Those least responsible for climate change are paying the highest price.
This is about our lives. This is about our reality.
We need to double down on this transition with a sense of urgency like never before.
You have to demand. If you don't, nothing's going to change.
There is this global climate injustice.
Many countries within the global south are not responsible for the rise in the global emissions.
Do you accept the scientific consensus that the man-made burning of fossil fuels is rapidly and dangerously warming the planet?
I'm not a scientist. What we need to do is move forward with impactful projects.
We're going to move on, but that was about as close to an answer as I believe we're going to get.
We have to put money where our mouth is.
We take action.
Time for us to let them pay the bill.
We have everything we need to solve this crisis, save political will.
I know we will get to a low-carbon, no-carbon economy.
Climate finance is the most important issue at this COP and going forward.
Offshore wind is now the cheapest form of energy in the UK. Nobody would have believed that possible 20 years ago.
You cannot fight the climate crisis in a fragmented world trading system.
system.
We are waiting for the money. We don't want to wait for the money.
They have had perhaps the best year in history at a moment that the globe is experiencing energy poverty.
What we're dealing with in terms of energy supply, the cost of energy, the answers to all of these things are the same answers that we need to find for the climate crisis.
We are going to prevail. The remaining question is whether we will win it in time.
Okay, time is up. Have you decided? Yes, Katrin, you're going?
Who's going to come?
You're going to support your team. Very good.
You got nominated. Good.
Okay, so if you can put the timer at 1.5 minutes on each side, please. Yeah, you'll go first.
And we will interrupt after 1.5 minutes.
You're so harsh. You know, you told me I was harsh, and then you're the one just stopping everyone.
I'll stand back. Okay.
All right, so we'll go for the 4 team first.
Okay.
Ready, Katrin?
Okay.
You go.
We hear you. Thank you. We've conferred beforehand, and we've decided to take this nuclear, okay? Stephanie mentioned Einstein, the same Einstein who split the atom and was responsible, partly responsible for the development of the nuclear bomb. He said, I am not worried about the potential of physics. I am worried about the human capacity for evil. The same Einstein, just before his death in 1955, wrote a letter where he deeply regretted some of the things he set into motion he could no longer control, because there are 5 overall contradictory elements and dysfunctions in the AI system. There is a commercial rather than an ethical focus. There is a technical rather than a relational focus. There is a functional rather than a communal focus. There's an enslaving dictatorial aspect rather than a freeing democratic one, which renders myriads and myriads of people redundant rather than directing them into employment. And we need to address this in order, we don't need to just address it in education, but overall in order to keep healthy societies, a solid democratic setup and a peaceful order. Thank you.
Bravo.
Whoa. Stay there, stay there. You meant it when you said you're going to take it nuclear, and I see what you mean.
All right. Leila, the floor is you. You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Dear members of the jury, thank you very much for your feedback and questions. Now, AI is not be-all, end-all. AI won't replace teachers. AI won't bring electricity and connectivity to all parts of the world. But what will is humans working together with AI. As a former teacher in a refugee camp, back then, I used a textbook as a tool. 5 years ago, working on an AI-powered learning companion for refugee youth in the Middle East, where through public-private partnership, we brought power and electricity. We partnered with teachers to provide an additional tool for them to engage and empower learners who've been out of school, out of the traditional schooling system for up to 7 years due to conflict. So AI is there to democratize learning, to amplify learning, to be the aid to the teachers, and to inspire us to address the structural challenges that we have had for decades, to ensure that everybody has access to the connectivity. Internet is a human right, and to the power, and to the safe classrooms, and to the humans to connect with.
Thank you.
Well done.
Well done.
That was great. But we come to the final moment here. Drum roll. So it's now up to you guys. You really did a fantastic job, all of you. It's to come up here and just do that and put yourself on line 3 minutes each is fantastic. And you were both, all of you, admirable. Not both, all of you were admirable. Thank you so much for that. But you have to now decide. So all of those of you that are still for the motion that AI...
Can I just say something?
Yes.
I just want to make clear to the audience that you remember Stephen did a bias test at the beginning. At this stage, we're asking you to vote for the team that you thought were most compelling. It's important nuance that I wanted to add before you go for the...
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You heard her. So with that in mind, all of you that think that AI will kill education, please clap now. Interesting. For those of you that think AI will not kill education, please clap now.
I think there's some double voting, for sure, but there's clearly a shift in the room.
Which is good, in a way.
Which is great.
Should we just do that again?
Let's do it again. Okay, okay.
So those for the motion...
Clap for your children.
Now.
I think you need to give a mic to the other team for equality's sake.
Still clap for your children.
Act for the change.
So, was that a clap? Once again, against the motion? No? Do you want to clap again? So, for this team? No? No.
And for democracy.
We're actually for everyone's children.
All right.
All right.
Sophie, I'm going to leave it to you. It's too complicated.
Okay, okay. Jury, what do you think?
No. I had to clap because she clapped.
I see.
AI is not going to kill education.
That's Microsoft. Now, let's not get personal here. I will declare winner. I think there's two winners, but there's one Uber winner. There's first the 4 team won the hearts of the audience, so I'd like to clap for them. And I think the against team won the debate.
So, thank you very much. Why we like doing these debates, is because it kind of epitomizes what we hope we stand for at the New York Times. Listening, respectful listening, interesting discourse, and I think you guys embodied that this evening, so I really want to thank you for doing that. And I'd like to thank you all for your participation in and I hope you found it stimulating. I hope also it stimulated some extra thoughts that you perhaps hadn't thought about before you coming into this room. So very much appreciate your participation, and thank you for coming this evening. And Sophie, thank you, and all the team for the work. And thank you to the Women's Forum for being fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying here until now.